welcome to this little abridged version of Straight Off the Blog. I'm hollering at the beginners out there. We're going to make some basic bread today. The process is very simple. So I started off here putting water into the bowl. You can find the recipe on my blog, of course. That is 315 grams of water with 10 grams of fresh yeast dissolved into it. Now, I just put 400 grams of all-purpose flour and 100 grams of whole wheat flour into the bowl. And so, yeah, that's, almost all of the ingredients. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm going to start mixing it, and I did not edit the video. I just put me mixing here so you can kind of see how your boy gets it done every second and step of the way. In terms of the yeast, if you want to use active dry yeast, you can use, I think, typically 40% of the fresh yeast number. Instant yeast would be somewhere around 30 or 33% of the fresh yeast number, and instant yeast goes straight into the flour as opposed to being dissolved into the water. So that's just some yeast info for you. So here's what my mixture looks like after I've kind of mixed it to the point where there's no dry flour yet. And now we're going to let it rest for 20 minutes. Alright, so I'm back, and I've got 12 grams of salt on me. Well, what's good with that? So 12 grams of salt, we're going to add another little splash of water. If you've seen the other Straight Off the Blog videos, you've seen with the sourdough, I kind of use the same idea here, where I slowly incorporate a little bit more water and squeeze it in with the salt. So here is that process. Obviously things move a lot faster when you're using commercial yeast, fresh yeast, or whatever kind of yeast you're using. But remember, you're just starting out. It's all good. So we're gonna make some really delicious bread. So yeah, right now it's another game of how do I incorporate the water into this dough and the salt. So I just kind of squeeze at it with both hands. I try to be gentle, but it is what it is. Sometimes, you gotta start tearing it a little bit. It's all good. So you just kind of go for it. This is the texture that I'm looking for, and now I want to start kneading it. I want to develop it a lot more than what squeezing would do. And we're not gonna hydrate this guy too much. We're not gonna we're not gonna put too much water into this mixture. So you're going to have a drier bread than what I'm used to if I'm making a sourdough bread, but that's okay. So we have a hydration amount that's a little bit lower. Now we're going to knead. I like to knead with the palm of my hand. I like to rotate the dough a little bit in a circle. Just kind of use both palms, spin it around a little bit, push forward, and then push back, and then pull back with your fingers, rather. So I just kind of repeat this process until I can feel the dough, changing, getting stronger. It starts to feel more cohesive. And there we go. Decently smooth surface. I'm happy with that. And we're going to just put it back into the same bowl. I mean, you can put oil on the bowl so it doesn't stick to the bowl, but it doesn't matter. We're going to cover that guy for about an hour and 20 minutes now. Look at this dude. Wow, he's ready to roll. Remember, this is a nice, quick, basic loaf. We're not going crazy with the fermentation. Okay, so now we're going to shape this loaf. So I like to flour the countertop, and I like to kind of set it up in a triangular shape. Alright, and then we're going to start from the top and fold into the middle using the outside of your fingers. The tighter you can get it, the better. Okay, and after a few folds, we'll then tuck in with our thumbs, and voila, there it is. There's our seam. You can close it up a little bit if you want to, or you can let it rest and it'll close by itself. And now the proofing stage is when we're going to let the bread rise again. And so there's two ways I'm going to show you. Very, very simple. The first one is put some semolina on a sheet pan and then put the bread on the sheet pan. Okay, and this is cool because you can then bake it directly on the sheet pan and have great bread. Now the second method is to use a cloth or a kitchen towel or a baker's couche, which I happen to have access to because I do bake a lot. But if you don't have one of these, no problem. Use a kitchen towel and put some flour or some semolina or some rice flour on there. Now here's one trick I like to use. I like to put a couple rolling pins since I'm only making one loaf, and the rolling pins will keep it in shape. Now it's time to bake. After 45 minutes of proofing, it's time to bake the loaf. I used the Challenger bread pan, so I had it preheating in the oven for about an hour, and then I take it out, I put some semolina flour on there, and then I'm going to slash the bread. You already know what it is. Then we're going to put it back into the oven, and the oven's at 500 for 15 minutes. Oh man, look at that. Took it out. It's almost looking like bread. You hear me? So I'm going to uncover the Challenger bread pan, put it back in the oven for another 15 or so or 20 minutes until I get the desired color that I want. And you're going to know that your bread is ready because of the sound that it makes when you tap on the bottom. Take a listen. Alright, and it's also nice and crunchy and crispy. We've got a great color on it. This is just 2 hours of fermentation. We're using regular yeast, and it's no big deal. Make sure you check out the recipe on the blog, and I hope you make delicious bread.